How you doing, mate?
Pretty good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Back at it again.
Back at it again.
Episode what?
Alright. 105?
No, bro.
Episode 14, right?
Yeah.
I thought we just checked it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Pretty big milestone for us, almost. 15.
Yeah, just around the corner.
That's, shit. How many months is 15 weeks?
Well, three and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5.
So next week we'll be doing it for about that long.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
It does not get easier. It seems to get harder because you're like, it's like when you start rolling a fucking wheel, and if you don't keep the speed up, it's going to fall over.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think me and you, we do put a lot of pressure on we put a lot of pressure on
That's naturally
ourselves.
just who we are, though.
Yeah, because we I don't know, we always want to be better, we do better.
Do the best.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Just
man,
like jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have a shit day, but you still get upset about it.
Yeah, it's like
It's
it's
the
like
same
even
thing.
though you tell yourself all the time that you shouldn't have to be good at something because you've only just
Yeah.
started, like you said with jiu-jitsu, you still put so much pressure on yourself
Yeah,
to
exactly.
to win or
Yeah.
to be the best or to get it right, and that's the same we carry into this where
Yeah,
we're like,
exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
we're stressing like okay, we're gonna make it a good episode and all this stuff, but I don't know. I feel like we do okay.
Yeah, I think
And
so. It's
like we
it's chill, bro.
like we
It's chill.
always say, it's not like every episode anyone ever does on any podcast is like it's a good episode every time.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like you listen to every episode of someone's podcast.
Exactly. No, I think it's alright. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Been
Any-
up to much lately?
No, not really. I've just been keeping up with. That's what I want to start with is the UFC.
Yep.
So tune out if you don't know anything about the UFC because most of you won't. But
Good fights
we
in
missed over last week.
Yeah,
'Cause
we did.
wanted to talk about it, but we got so carried away with sci-fi shit.
Yeah.
Whatever. So there was a fight card that you and me were so down for.
Mm.
Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa, which is going to be like, oh fuck, is Adesanya legit or is Paulo just going to
Yeah.
beat the fuck out of him?
Yeah.
You know,
That
beat his shit in, and then the second, what do you call it? The second main event or second main event was
Co-main event or something.
co-main event.
Yeah.
That's right. Was for the vacant light heavyweight
Mhm.
title
Mhm.
between Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz,
Mhm.
which was also
That was
great.
a good fight. Holy shit.
Let's
That
talk about
fight
that.
was
Let's talk about that
insane.
one first.
Those kicks.
Oh, dude.
Those kicks, man. That
Well-
guy, Dominic fucking looked like he had an
There was a lot of
internal
kicking
bleeding
tonight,
going on.
wasn't there? Oh, sorry, not tonight.
Yeah,
That night.
yeah, there was a lot of kicking.
Like, on his body, I'd never seen something go so red and bruised and look like he was...
It just
looked
looked
like...
weird.
It looks like he just surgically removed a bit of skin, pulled it
Yeah,
away.
it looked like,
It just looked like these
open-
guts.
yeah.
Like, it was so fucked
I know.
up. It was just like his muscle was just... It's like he
Scary.
just removed his skin and looked inside his body.
Scary.
It was so red and purple. And that was only from, like, 2 kicks.
Mm. But
So
they were
that's why-
solid kicks, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is.
But I was
fucking
wondering
mountain.
whether something was wrong there because it's like, it shouldn't take too. Maybe he just is like something else. Maybe that Polish power is legit. Maybe he's always going on about.
Well, I mean, that part of your body is also sort of like it's not the hardest part. So if you land
Yeah.
a good kick.
Well,
in
you wouldn't have seen it, I think, but the fight card that happened like yesterday, the day before, Holly Holmes. That one, there was a fighter on that card as well. I think it was maybe a lightweight fight or just below featherweight. And the same thing happened to that guy. He got kicked a few times, and it was just like guts red. It was so bad, and I was like, they obviously kicked him in the right space, and it was on. Which side was it on? The right side, right? Yeah, it was on Dominic's right side.
Yeah.
And this guy's right side as well. Where's your liver? I thought your liver's on your left side. Your liver's on your right side.
I have no idea, bro. I have no idea.
I wanna
It's somewhere.
know.
It's in there somewhere.
I want to know. But yeah, like, it was so toxic red, and then, like, nothing's happening. He's just fighting through it. But then, in the second round or the...
We're talking about Dominic.
Yeah.
Fight? Yeah.
When did
yeah.
he finish the round? I can't remember. When did he
The
finish the
second,
fight?
I think.
Second round?
Yeah. It was either second or third.
Anyway, he breaks his nose.
Yeah.
His nose goes sideways on his face, like, fully just, like, goodbye cartilage, goodbye everything. And you could tell just after that. It was similar to, like... It reminded me a bit of, like, Tony Ferguson.
Yeah,
when
when
he
he
just
was
gets the fuck
beat
beat out
down
of him,
by
and then he
Genji.
just jabs him, and Tony's just like,
Yeah,
Like it's too much at that
yeah.
point. No matter how tough you are, it's too much. And Dominic did the same thing. He just got whacked, and he's and because of the obviously kicks to the leg and body, it was all just like too much for his body.
Yeah,
he stumbled a bit,
yeah.
and then he couldn't continue. But I mean,
good performance, man. Like that was a good.
Both
fight.
of them, it was crazy. I didn't know what to expect in that fight because I don't know so much about either of those fighters except that we saw Dominic Reyes in one of the greatest, you know, competitive bouts with John Jones. And I think that's probably a reason why it went the way it did, because he went in there thinking, I just went 5 rounds with the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah,
and I did pretty okay.
Yeah.
You know, I arguably could have won that fight. And then he went in thinking he'll just do the same shit in that fight with this fight. But Jan's a completely different motherfucker.
Yeah, he needed a different tactic, yeah.
He's probably got a lot more power and all this shit. So maybe, you know, I'm not an expert on fighter psychology or how they, you know, put their game plan together, but I think he maybe went in going, I should beat this guy.
See, I love watching the post-fight press conferences and shit, right? I always sort of watch it in a way where I try to read people and what they're going through, right? Are they feeling confident? Are they sort of scared? Are they trying to, like, intimidate the other person?
You're talking about the pre?
Yeah, the pre. Sorry, yeah.
I
think I said
before.
post.
Yeah.
Sorry. The pre-conference.
Yeah.
Like before the events and shit, where, you know, they hype it up. Or when they do the face-off, you know, at the weigh-ins and everything. I always try to, like, okay, who's looking at, you know, like, right in the eye.
There's just tiny ticks that's, for some reason, even though you're not, like, you know, a behavioural psychologist, it just, you go, oh, wait a minute. And similar stuff I was thinking in, like, the Paulo Costa fight. Adesanya, it's like you could tell there were slight little things that Costa might have been a bit nervous. Like you just see it in his behavior, where he kind of maybe wasn't just like, you know, it's like he was using the bravado of like, yo, I'm gonna smash this guy to like hype himself up, and that was a similar thing Whittaker did. Whittaker's not a shit talker, but when he came out, like I've never really seen Whittaker so jacked, like, you know, like he's been like, yeah, come on, but he was so in his head and looking so fucking like he was trying to hype himself up to fight Israel, you know what I mean? And I felt like a little bit of that from Costa, but then I thought I saw the same thing from Israel as well, where he did the whole white belt thing and Israel got the shits and like threw it out,
and he's
I was
like doing these,
I was like, yeah, I was like, why would you do that? Like in my head I was like, Israel's maybe getting a bit pissed off, but there you go, we know no fucking clue of like how anything goes. Maybe, you know, some fighters like Israel can let themselves get very emotional, and then in the cage it's completely different. They know the game plan, they know how they're going to beat this guy, because that was the biggest domination I've seen in a while. You know, apart from, I think the closest I've seen to anything like that was, I don't know if you saw Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. That was a while ago. He just beat the shit out of him for 5 rounds. Just beat the shit out of him for 5 rounds.
I don't remember.
It was the most beating ever. But yeah, I think Israel's is more impressive because how everyone thought Costa was like this juggernaut.
Yeah. Well, I think with Adesanya, just he fights so differently. Like he's so unorthodox. Like the way he moves, the way he just, you know, kicks you in the head out of nowhere.
Well, that's his speed though.
Well, like, yeah, but his physique as well. Like he's tall, he's lanky. Like he can throw a kick, and then all of a sudden, like before you even know it, that kick is like, you know, right in your face. Yeah. Like I don't know. He mixes it up, so you never know what he's gonna come to.
That attributes to his, like, he has probably the best striking we've seen for a long time. Plus, he knows how to manage range so well because of his lengthy physique. He can he knows where to put people so he can do what he does. And you know, he's got, his striking is so fast, as shown in that final flurry when he puts down Costa. It was like that whole sequence where he like head kicks him and hits him straight in the face,
pretending,
and he's
to
like, oh, whatever. And I think, I can't remember what happens, but I think Costa throws a jab, so Israel baits him out, and then he baits like this, so Costa throws out the jab to keep him away. Israel slips the jab to the outside here, chucks that right hand that like kind of misses, and then goes around, chucks the left jab, but Costa turns his head and it scrapes him across the temple.
And
that shit is so intense. Like, but yeah, I mean, if he would caught him flush on the side of the head of the jaw, he still would have gone down.
Oh yeah,
but on the temple, I think it's so much of like a flash knockdown. It's like lightning. You're like, oh, that you're just gone.
That's why he went down.
Yeah,
the way he did.
And then he fucking pumped and dumped him on the way out. That was full
big time. But the thing is, like, you look at Adesanya's last 2 fights, right? With Yoel Romero as well. It was the same shit. Like, Yoel couldn't do anything. And he was just sort of like, he was waiting for Adesanya to bring the fight to him. And Adesanya's like, no, like, I'm just going to do my own thing. Use my height, my style of fighting as an advantage. Because Yoel Romero has the knockout power. He's like, no, I'm just going to stay away. Just fucking keep working on your leg. And
that's
just
the thing.
slowly
it's
work.
Like Costa, Romero, they did the same thing where it was, they both suddenly realized that Adesanya had shut their game down with his range and his speed, and they had to suddenly pretend like he wasn't doing anything to make it look like,
exactly,
oh, look at me, I'm fucking trying, he's running away. But it's like, dude, you're standing there because you know if you go in there, he'll kill you.
Exactly.
He'll knock you out.
Exactly.
He'll hit you
and that's why people are like, they're fucking hesitant to fucking close the distance, because they're like, okay, well, I need to close the distance because I can't do shit from here. But if I close the distance, like, it's still very risky.
Yeah, so then it's like they play so much some stupid mind game where it's like, oh, now it's up to you, dude. I'll just stand here like this.
And that's why in that fight, if you don't do it,
it's bullshit.
Adesanya was like, oh, you're Romero.
Yeah. Well, legit, because Costa did the same thing. Stood there. So Costa didn't try and go left and right and then whatever. I'm not a fight expert, but it's like, I'm sure if you stand here, he's gonna get you. If you move in, he's gonna get you. It's like, Costa had nothing. He was. I'd never seen so much hesitance. Because like you think about him versus like, I don't know, anybody else, like, you know, even versus Romero, holy fuck, they beat the fuck out of each other for, you know, however many rounds, 5 rounds or 3 rounds. That was crazy.
But and Romero is a scary looking motherfucker too, you know, compared to Adesanya. Adesanya doesn't look that intimidating, but his style is very intimidating because you just don't know where it's going to hit you.
Do you think that mentality plays into it as well though, where like, Costa versus Romero, it's kind of like, yeah, no matter what happens, it's gonna be fucking sick because they didn't talk so much shit, and it's just a gangster ass fight. But then with Israel, they talk so much shit to each other, where it's like, I can't lose to this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot lose to this guy, and then that gets in your head the fear that you might lose to him.
But you know then it was Costa that started that shit anyways. It was Costa talking shit about Adesanya. He's like, who is he? Who is he? I don't know him. Who is he? You know, he's going back a few years ago.
He seemed to talk a lot of shit.
Oh, like even after the Romero fight, because Costa was there watching that fight, and he's like, he's not a champion. He's not respect. He doesn't deserve it because he's not fighting for it and blah blah blah.
Yeah, he jumped on that.
And then you saw what happens. But I mean, look, I don't think anyone expected the fight to go the way it went. Like even Dana White was like, oh, this fight is gonna be explosive. Costa's the one. He's like, it's not gonna be anything like the Romero fight. Costa's gonna bring it on.
He's like, these boys are gonna throw down.
Yeah. He's like, nope.
It was a complete shutdown from the first bell. And yeah, dude, first of all, those low kicks. Do you there's a doctor on YouTube, Brian Suterer or something. He does like UFC breakdowns of like what happens when this thing happens. So he was talking about what happens to someone's leg when he's getting kicked in the left leg. But when Adesanya keeps kicking that exact point, there's a thing here called the perineal,
like a nerve or something?
Perineal nerve or something, and it's not protected by anything. It's literally just on the outside here, just under the skin. And you keep kicking that, this all doesn't work anymore.
Isn't that what happened to Sean O'Malley as well?
Yeah, exactly that. So, Marlon Vera kicks that a few times, really good. First time it's like, yeah, fucking ow, and then the second time it's like, it probably goes a bit numb or something, I don't know, and then you just can't put weight on it. And O'Malley, you know, whatever shit he talks, but who cares? He that roll he did was because there was because of that kick, and that's the same thing that happened to Costa. It's like you could see the damage, how red it got. I mean, Costa was pretty good at, you know, having the poker face with the leg. It's not like he was buckling or anything, but his movement was just slow. And then, I think it was his lead leg, his left leg's his lead leg. You can't throw any power because you want to lean into that leg, you know. And I'm sure if you tried to switch stances, he just probably wouldn't. It would be the same. He's not used to throwing on that side with as much power. So then he can't do anything. It's like You know,
Well,
if he
yeah,
moves in,
that's-
he gets beat up. If he does move in and suddenly get a good position, he probably can't throw with as much as he wants. Because Israel hit him with like 25 leg kicks in the same spot. Like you saw
And
it,
they
right, how
weren't
perfect that
like
was.
fucking, you know, light kicks. They were
It was like precise fucking chopping kicks.
straight, yeah.
Right to the right to that part there. Ugh, it's so nasty, bro.
Sooner or later, it doesn't matter how tough you are, man.
But
like, it's gonna hurt,
well,
like-
exactly, and that's like one of the best strategies you can have. I think is like no matter who it is. Oh, this dude's huge, and
yeah.
you know I might be a bit
Doesn't
skinnier.
matter.
Kick his leg.
Yeah, human
That
body,
dude will
man,
give out
that's-
soon.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's exactly what Israel did, and it was awesome. Awesome game plan. Chopped him up, slowed him down even more. He was always faster than Costa, but he slowed him down even that just bit more so that he could get in and do that crazy as
Just
you know
moving-
right hook fucking left.
Exactly.
And you saw every time they got in close, Israel was just like bah 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 like so quick, and you could see Costa gonna go, what the fuck? Like how's he this fucking quick? You
And
know
he
he's
took
all
so
like, oh
much
fuck
shit,
you.
too.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, blue belt jiu-jitsu.
yeah. I think Israel was pretty pissed off. He was like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Like fuck you. And then
Yeah.
and then Costa gets online, he's like, 0-3 match.
Oh yeah, no, I saw
I
that. I'm like,
disapprove.
no, just shut up, please.
Dude, you
Go off. Don't even go on social
after a
media.
performance like that,
Yeah, I
If-
wouldn't. Yeah.
if we even considered a rematch, he would have to beat every single person they give him now for a while.
Yeah, I
To
would say
even
at
consider
least
a
at
rematch.
least 2-3 fights he needs
Dominant.
to. Yeah.
Dominant performances,
Yeah.
not where it's like, oof, that
Yeah.
was Israel-esque. You know, you see those leg kicks on Costa, he won the fight, but he's still getting chopped up.
Yeah.
He needs to be so dominant from now on to the point where it's like undeniable, right? Because, you know, immediately Adesanya after the fight is asking for someone else.
Yeah,
think about
because
you.
what would you if they were to do a rematch again now, no one's gonna be excited for it.
No, we're just going to
What?
be like... And even if, let's say the crazy shit happened, like Costa knocks Israel out, it's probably still not going to have as much, you know, sting and hype around it. It's like, well, this is just weird now. Like, he fucking dominated you and you it would just be weird, I reckon.
Like if the fight went down like fucking Masvidal versus
That
Nate
would be
Diaz,
crazy.
You know, like those guys fucking, you know, the baddest motherfucker title.
Yeah.
Like those guys went to war. Like that, I would want to see a rematch because it was, you know, so it was a close fight. Yeah, Masvidal did sort of, you know, I reckon he would have taken the win regardless of the cut, whether the fight was stopped or it kept on going.
Yeah,
But-
well, that's classic Diaz. He was just-
Yeah, well, Diaz, like, he showed heart, he showed, like, he really wanted it.
he was
Costa
getting beaten
didn't,
up.
Costa didn't push forward enough to show how much he wanted it. You know what I mean? He felt like
Yeah,
he
so
was
even
more...
if you get beat up and you showed the crowd or whoever
Yeah.
that you're fighting with everything you got for it, even if you're getting so outclassed, it's
Yeah.
like then you have a bit more of a position to argue from and go,
Yeah.
look man, like I reckon I adjust a little bit more and I can do it. And everyone's like, yeah, you really showed your heart there, man.
Yeah.
We'd like to see that again, see what
Yeah.
you can improve on. It's the same with Whittaker. Israel beat the shit out of Whittaker, and then it's like no one really wants to see that again. You know,
He beat him twice, right? No?
No,
Oh,
he
sorry,
knocked him
knocked
out
him down.
twice.
Knocked him out twice, yeah.
Yeah, knocked him out on the bell of like the
Yeah,
second
that's
round
right.
or
Yeah,
something,
that's
and he's
right.
like out, and he
Yeah,
gets
that's
up,
right.
and he's like, okay,
Yeah.
and then he knocks him out again, whatever. But if Whittaker beats Jared Cannonier, who's coming up, it's not as exciting. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
no, it's
Whittaker's like, yeah, I deserve the fight now. It's like if Whittaker beats Jared Cannonier, he will then probably have to beat someone else to solidify that he wants to fight again. If Jared Cannonier wins against Whittaker, he automatically gets the title shot because Israel's already said that. So it's like Whittaker, Costa, yeah, certain fights just go down. It's like you can't ask for a rematch and anything else. But
Yeah, not for a while. Just, yeah,
And
work
this
on
is-
your game plan. Well, Adesanya has a game plan that works for him, and no one's figured out a way to... It's,
well, I think he's
figured
changing
out-
so much, so quick. You know.
But like his main style is it's just that keep a distance kicks and like fast, you know, precision. Just I don't know, man. It's
Well,
just,
think about-
it works for him. It's like what Habib takes people down and fucking breaks their face. Like that's his style, and it works for him. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
for
Like he
sure.
wouldn't want to stand up and strike because like he feels comfortable on the ground. It's like Adesanya wouldn't go for a takedown either because he feels more comfortable sort of standing up. So it just depends on that, you know. So yeah, like
we were talking about,
Adesanya, you know, like he wouldn't go to the ground. Like his style is to stand up and trade, kick, move, constantly switch.
Okay, I remember now what I was about to say. That makes even more impressive the Gastelum fight. Gastelum brought it to him like we expected Costa to do it. You watched that fight, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
that was probably the best fight I've ever seen in a long time.
Yeah,
you were just like, "What the fuck is happening?" They crushed each other, but then Israel got that just like that, inched out that striking. I mean, it was always a better strike than Gastelum, but Gastelum pushed that that energy forward. He pushed it right underneath Israel, which is where he needed to be. He couldn't be on the outside, so he kept pushing in. But it wasn't like he pushed in and then shot for a takedown. It's like he pushed in and chucking overhands, and that really put Israel under pressure, and it was good. Like you saw, he rocked Israel like 2 or 3 times. But Israel still managed to edge out that counter striking perfection. But again, that makes Kelvin Gastelum, that fight, looks so much crazier when you think about it. Or is it that since that fight, Israel's just like,
yeah, could
but
be.
What I'd like to see is a rematch between Kelvin. When a fight like that happens, you can ask for a rematch.
Yeah, exactly.
You can, because it was so close.
Exactly.
I mean, in the last round, Kelvin Gastelum was getting knocked about. He was unconscious for like the last 2 minutes, and he was just rolling about, getting beaten the fuck out. But he was still, even though he was basically unconscious, he was still fighting back, going for the leg, punching still. It was like, when you do that, ask for all the rematches you want. I'll give you fucking money for that. It's like, I'd love to see that again. Because
UFC, in a way, like it's a different kind of beast altogether. Like if you compare it to any other sports, everything is point based, and like if there's playoffs, right? Like if in the NBA, if Lakers dominate Miami Heat or something, there's still going to be the next game because those guys are at the very top. Whereas with UFC, Dana White has his teams of, who do we think is going to be a good fight? Yes, there's number one, and, people move up the division and everything.
It's not like rankings.
But there's no signs
1 to 10. It's not like 10 fights 9, 8 fights.
No, it's not.
1 fights 2. Sometimes, but usually it's like...
Well, most of the time, Dana White and his people, they get into a thing where, okay, we think this will be a good match. A lot of people will watch it.
But it's also what will make the most money, because it's turned into wrestling, what do you call it?
WWE.
WWE,
in a way.
Cage fighting. George Masvidal brings up all this hype around him. You want to see him fight anybody. You don't care who it is. You're like, yeah, fucking fight. After Askren, he became a superstar. So then anytime he fights anybody, and then he goes and fights Nate Diaz, and he beats the shit out of Nate Diaz. You're like, holy fuck, man. And you just want to see anything. He hasn't fought anyone since then, has he? Usman. That was a bit strange,
he took that fight in a very short, I think 2 weeks notice or something.
So did Usman.
Yeah, but Usman was already training for a fight.
Yeah, but
he was training for someone else.
He was training for fucking Gilbert Burns, completely different fighter.
Yeah, I know, but he was still in the gym training.
Yes.
Masvidal wasn't.
I'm sure Masvidal
he was training, but he wasn't in the mindset of, hey, I'm gonna get in the ring in a week. You know what I mean?
No, whereas Usman I'm sure in that case he knew he was gonna get in there. I'm sure he was preparing in that exact case if Burns or whoever. Burns would drop out, and he did, and I'm sure Masvidal was training ready to hop into that. What's the harm if that fight doesn't happen? He just trained good. He's healthy and fit. I'm sure he was training for that fight.
But he did not seem like his fitness wasn't where it was with all his other recent
I agree.
fights.
I don't think you would put that as 100% preparation level for sure.
No.
But it also does show how good Usman is, even though he's fairly boring. I know you're not too into his style.
Yeah, I mean, look, I respect him.
He's a good fighter.
I do like him.
It's just
he's. I think I'm starting to like him more.
Yeah, it gets
at first.
I thought he was really cringy back in
the
like him, Cejudo, and Colby Covington. There was all the period where they were all going off with it. Usman, I can't remember. I think it was Masvidal, and he gets on the panel, with Paul Felder's asking him questions.
Oh.
No, and he's talking shit to him, and Usman starts flexing it. Yeah. He's like, "What, motherfucker? What?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You know what? Usman's style is when I first started watching UFC, I hated it when the fight went to the ground because I didn't know what was happening.
We had no
right?
idea, and we thought it was just
I'm like,
stalling, and they just
hurry
didn't. They
up.
were just scared.
And I was just, please ref, please stand them up, because I would think they're not doing anything, right? But now that I understand jiu-jitsu, I actually love it when it goes to
There's
the
a
ground.
bit of a difference though. Like if Usman takes someone down, he's not doing jiu-jitsu. He's wrestling.
No. I'm not saying him taking people to the ground.
You just appreciate it
I'm
more.
saying his whole approach to the fight itself, like his style. You know, like he would put people against the cage and fucking stomp on their feet and shit. Like that's very different, right? Like now that I sort of watch him more and like understand what he's doing, I appreciate it more. Like the same way I appreciate the fight now when it
Well,
goes
I think
to the
you
ground.
and me have been watching UFC for a long time now. To be fair, and
I
your
guess
perspective changes
you're-
over time.
exactly,
We're
that's- yeah.
definitely more accepting of everything now. Like all fighters, different. We understand that it's like, you know, when you first start watching it, it's just a blood sport to you.
Well, that's what you
Knock
think. You
him
think
out.
it's just cockfighting.
You know?
It's just fights.
And all you want is a knockout. Oh, top 20 knockouts. I'm going to watch this video. Not top 20 submissions. You're like, cool, but dude's not out cold. And now we kind of accept anything. It's all like, yeah, Usman, people might say it's boring, but if you really understand, let's say, if you completely understand wrestling and jiu-jitsu and just grappling and controlling someone,
Controlling
he's
people.
probably the best shit to watch ever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You watch him or you watch
100%.
any top wrestler, like, I know
they
you
just
don't like him,
dominate.
but even Colby, you watch that, you're like, holy fuck, man, like, complete domination. And it's, you know, because in my head, wrestling and jiu-jitsu is like a basis for martial arts you need before probably striking, because learning how to control someone before you can 50-50 knock someone out, you don't know if they're going to knock you out or you knock them out. With wrestling and jiu-jitsu, you can pretty much dictate controlling someone else, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Even if they're a really good wrestler, you still know how to control. You know what I mean?
As long as you can implement it to your game. Because, I mean, we saw Costa bragging about his black belt and Adesanya being a blue belt.
Yeah, where was his Imanari roll, mate?
Exactly.
Tony Ferguson, Imanari roll, grab his leg. You know, he's like, I want to snap this skinny guy. It's like, okay, put him in a fucking crucifix or something, or put him in a dude. Yeah, imagine if Costa just sticks Israel in a crucifix, got his arm between his legs, got his fucking arm over his head.
Yeah. But, like, he couldn't even implement
He wouldn't
that.
even do that.
He couldn't
shit,
even
man.
implement that into his...
I'm confused. Why not? That would have that. Okay, Israel is probably the greatest striker we have in the sport at the moment.
yeah, why would
Arguably
you
one of the best we've ever seen. Why would you not at least once try to take him down? I'm pretty sure
But I guess it's still
Gastelum
risky
tried to.
too, because if you go for it and you don't get it,
Imagine if
then...
he guillotined you.
Yeah, well, yeah, like anything can happen. He can eat a knee.
He talks so much shit if he submitted Costa. Imagine if Israel submitted Costa.
Oh my god, yeah. Costa would
What black belt are
retire.
you, bitch? Like,
Yeah.
He talks so much shit. And he'd probably bring out the white belt and chuck it at Costa.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, white belt submitted you, bitch.
Yeah.
Because
he
like
would've.
even afterwards, when he beat Costa on the like panels, when you know they're interviewing him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm a white belt at heart. I'm always a white belt at heart." He's like that. He's like got that classic jiu-jitsu mentality, you know, and that would be so. I want him to submit his next opponent.
But man, UFC have come such a long way. I remember when I first started watching UFC. I think I started it back in 2010, 2009 with Forrest Griffin, the Ultimate Fighter.
Shit.
Yeah, that's when I first started.
Anderson was like the shit back
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Chuck Liddell, you know, all these fighters. I remember the first time I found out about UFC was PS3, first UFC game. It had a demo and it was free. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll download it. And the two characters you could play was Forrest Griffin and Chuck Liddell. And Chuck Liddell looked like the coolest motherfucker
He
with
looked
his
like the
mohawk.
scariest shit ever.
Yeah, and I'm
didn't
like, oh my god, this guy, fucking, he's awesome. I'm like, I gotta find out who this guy is. That's when and then I realized on Foxtel there was the Ultimate Fighter. And I'm like, oh shit, I want to watch this. And that's how I got into UFC, like, just started watching it. But looking back at, you know, the fighters and the skill level back when it first started, and look at the skill level now, it's, you can't even compare it.
The games are
in
so
my
different.
opinion,
It's so much.
there's so much more in it now.
In a way, you could say, I mean, watch a fight between, I don't know, did you ever watch the fight between, like, Mark Hunt and Bigfoot Silver? Did you ever remember that one?
Yeah, I think
There's
so.
just blood pouring everywhere.
Yeah,
They're just beating the crap
yeah.
out of each other. There's a fight like that, and then there's a fight like Mighty Mouse versus Ray Borg. I think it's Ray Borg. You know when he's got him in, like, mount, but then he gets him around the waist, chucks him up, and as he's falling down, he armbars him.
Oh,
You
yes,
remember that?
yes.
There's
Yes.
such a difference between those two, and in my head, I'm like, that heavyweight fight I was just talking about, that's what old UFC used to be like.
Yeah.
And then the new age UFC just getting faster and faster. It is all getting faster and faster, the way they're just having to... I mean, you got to learn everything now.
You can't just
be
do
like,
one-
oh, yeah, I'm the wrestler.
Oh,
or
I'm the
striker.
jiu-jitsu guy. No, you
Yeah.
got to do everything.
It's like, bro, the best people have to have a well-rounded game. You know, like... I mean, John Jones isn't the best at anything. He's a good wrestler. He's got good striking. He's got a lot of tools. But it's not like he's this guy, the jiu-jitsu guy, the striking guy. He's managed to implement it all. It's like if you 40% everything, it's better than one guy who's got a 90% in this and then 10% in everything else.
Exactly.
You know, he's going to get smashed.
Exactly.
What happens when he goes for that takedown and the dude with the 40% on the takedown defends that? And then he's like, oh, fuck, I've got to stand with this guy now.
And your striking is only
Dude,
10%.
imagine how fucking lonely and panic-stricken that would be if you're the wrestler and you're going in and you're like, this striking guy, dude, what happens when I get him to the ground? We're going to get to the ground. And the striking guy's like, yeah, okay, we'll see. And then he goes for that takedown and it just doesn't work. And then suddenly he goes, but that was my game plan.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
now
my
you're
game
like,
plan.
Fuck, you got to come up with a new plan on the spot. You got to try to analyze the situation and adapt. And not everyone can do that because you trained, you did your whole fight camp. All right, cool. This is my plan, and your plan's not working. You're like, fuck, what do I do now?
That'd probably show the most hard.
I think that's what happened to Romero and Costa, where they froze. They just like, well, it's not gonna work. What do I do?
I'm just gonna wait for the one punch.
And that's why I think the next event, Habib and
The
Gaethje,
next big event, yeah.
That's going to be very interesting because Gaethje is an awesome wrestler. He is a very good wrestler.
Have we ever seen him wrestle though? Not really.
No, not in the UFC. No.
I'm just saying he like, even though he says he's a good wrestler and he can rely on it, it's like, well, wrestle, but even when he gets like, you remember the Alvarez fight, Dustin Poirier fight, when they're just kicking the shit out of him, punching him, uppercuts, he's on drunk street. He's out of his fucking mind.
But
and he doesn't even try to shoot for a takedown. Like that's what you want. That's what your coach would probably tell you to do. He's like, bro, if you're standing there and getting beaten the fuck up and you're almost unconscious, shoot for the legs because it's harder for them to punch you. They can still get you, but it's like shoot for the thing. He never shot once in those moments where he was in serious trouble. I mean, that doesn't tell me anything, but I'm just like, is he going to wrestle with Khabib then? Or is he just going to use that if Khabib tries to wrestle him, which Khabib is going to try to wrestle him?
Khabib definitely is going to try to wrestle him. I just think Gaethje could have a good defense against his takedowns. He might not necessarily, again, like he's the type of guy, he'd rather brawl with you. He'd rather straight up stand up and punch you in the face.
Justin Gaethje will hit him a lot.
I think so. I think
Khabib
so
isn't going to be able to strike. I've seen Khabib strike. It's nothing special. Justin Gaethje has this just animal. Like Justin, look, remember the Tony fight?
He creates angles.
Remember the Tony fight?
That was
showed
one
us
of the
something
most uncomfortable fights.
That was like, oh, who wants to live a day in the life of a heavy bag?
Yeah.
Tony was like, me. I want to. It's like
that fight was disturbing. That was disturbing.
Like, imagine if that starts happening to, Khabib. He's gonna wrestle no matter what. It's just gonna all determine whether. Because remember when Khabib shoots for the first takedown on Conor and Conor kind of defends it. We all lost our minds. Oh my god, he's gonna fucking defend it.
But then remember when he did that fucking overhook and knocked Conor down?
Conor was like, what the fuck?
And then I was like,
he went for that level change. He went like that. So Conor. I watched. You didn't watch I didn't send you that one. The full Reptile War Room breakdown that Dan Hardy does. He shows it in that moment where Khabib is looking and Conor's eyes are right on Khabib's eyes, and then Khabib goes like this, and Conor's eyes just go down to his hips, and then Khabib goes to the left hand. So Conor's eyes are down here.
Yeah,
that's I mean, that's the classic Fame 101. You know, you fucking.
But he does that where he changes levels, right? So then he makes his opponent change levels, but then he quickly gets back up and then puts that punch in between their arms.
Dude,
like
that was
upwards punch.
That was one thing Dan Hardy was talking about. He calls it the eagle punch.
Yeah.
his like drop level uppercut.
Yeah, and he hits you like
Yeah.
underneath your
And
chin.
the good thing about it is that level change that he does into the punch, the opponent's going to level change too. So he's driving the punch up, and the opponent's going
I know
down.
he makes them fucking.
He hits Gaethje with that. Gaethje's going to have trouble because Tony hit him with that uppercut in that fight that dropped Gaethje, and it didn't look like the hardest punch. Gaethje went down because it was pretty unexpected. He wasn't expecting that. Khabib can definitely give him troubles, but Khabib, look, he's not going to knock Gaethje out by ground and pound or anything. It's not like he's going to put Gaethje away.
How do you know? The
I don't
UFC,
think, dude,
man.
Gaethje's so
It's
fucking...
hard, but it's so hard to predict.
I know.
Like, we said Donald Cerrone and fucking Conor McGregor.
It was going to be a
Man,
banger, yeah.
fucking 40 seconds. He's one kick
Can you see Gaethje getting knocked out by ground and pound though? Like Khabib's wrestling him and just beating him up. Gaethje's not going to quit that shit.
No, mate. I mean,
gonna have to-
I can see a
you're gonna have to
TKO.
submit it.
I can see a TKO. I can see the ref stopping it. I can see a
Well, yeah,
submission.
true. Gaethje has never been knocked out, but he's been TKO'd pretty bad a couple of times. Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, they both... Actually, Eddie Alvarez knocked him out with a knee.
Yeah, he
So
did
he has
too,
been
yeah.
knocked out.
Who do you have your money on for that fight?
Khabib, man.
Yeah, fuck yeah,
I
man.
wouldn't
Oh,
mind a
can't
good
wait.
fight, but I'm so... you can't deny Khabib. Even if he lost his fight, he's the greatest.
Yeah, I really want him to win. I really want him to win
I want him to win and just be like, I'm the greatest ever. See you later.
And I think
30-0, done.
I think he's the type of like when McGregor was sort of at his peak, right? He was great for the sport, but I think he let that get to him, and the shit that he's done outside of the mats and outside of the
Tainted
UFC.
everything.
It just sort of, I think it ruined his legacy. Like, I used to love McGregor.
Then he did all that stupid shit.
But now, I'm like, if he was to fight again, I would never cheer for him. Like, I just can't, like...
Well, you don't care as much.
No, I don't care as much. And it's like money got to him, and you saw his true... Like, even leading up to that,
I don't
the
think it's
Khabib
his
fight,
true nature. I think it's just, dude, when you're
It
young
got
and that much
to
money
him,
gets
man.
to you,
It got to
you
him.
can't...
it got to him.
It changes you, and you can't help it. He's one of those people like John Jones. They're young, and
but
that
then
happens.
But then again, why didn't all these other great fighters who've
Because they never
accomplished...
had fucking McGregor style fame, dude. John Jones level fame. McGregor's level fame is different. No other fighters had that shit.
Muhammad Ali had it.
Yeah.
And even
I guess
back
so.
then, there was no social media, and everyone knew Muhammad Ali. I think Conor had the right, like, everything lined up perfect for him. The
Yeah.
rise in the UFC, now that like more people talking about, more people watching it, and the guy's a promoter. Like, he promoted
every single
himself
person
really
on
well.
the planet knows who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty full on its own,
Yeah.
bro. Like, how do you sleep at night thinking that? You're like, holy fuck, I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, everyone knows him. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm fucking
I put my
so
money. I
looking
put
forward.
my money on Khabib
Yeah, me too.
because I want him to win. I like Gaethje. I just want Khabib to win because think about what's happened with his dad recently.
Yeah.
His dad passing away due to COVID. That's pretty massive. Like, you and I both have watched a lot of UFC anything, and you know how close he is with his dad. Like, his dad was fucking
His
like...
dad was everything. Like,
he was like the grandmaster of that whole Dagestani camp. He took all those guys in. Him and Khabib were like the unit,
But they helped so many kids. Like, it's like what the Gracie family did.
Yeah.
When they used to open their door for people to come in
Well,
and
think
just
about
train.
this.
It's the same
Khabib
shit.
now has to become his dad. He has to take on all the responsibility of that gym they had. All the. His dad wanted to build like a center for all the like Dagestani youth and like Russians and all the young kids. He wanted to like build this like youth gym.
And just train people.
Khabib now has to take all that on. So Khabib's going into this fight without his dad, having to take on all that responsibility, train the young guys like Islam Makhachev, all those guys that were trained under Khabib's dad. He now becomes like the head guy of that whole Dagestani unit. You know what I mean? A lot of pressure on him. And he's done interviews recently. He seems okay, but the reporters, fucking idiotic reporters.
Why did they just keep asking?
Has the death of your father upset you? And like people in the comments are like, you know, reporter, does the death of your father upset you? Khabib, yeah, you know, I'm pretty happy at the moment. My dad didn't mean shit to me. It's like, what the fuck do you think?
Yeah, exactly. What do you expect?
And the people are just hating on the reporters. So I'm like, yeah, are you fucking stupid? And Khabib was like that too. He's like, what do you think? Like, of course I'm going to be upset, but, you know, life is life. And it's like, what can you do? But it's like, it just annoyed me. Like, Khabib's back and all they want to ask about is, oh, is your father going to make you lose? It's like, what? Like...
See, that could either go one way or another. Because Khabib always had his dad by his side. Well, not all the time, because one time he couldn't get into the country because of the green card, right?
Yeah, there's a couple
but
of
he was always coached leading up to the fights. Like, he always had his dad with him.
Well, the McGregor fight was the one he couldn't make it to, right?
Yeah.
The Dustin Poirier fight was the one he was there for.
Yeah, because that was in Abu Dhabi, right? Yeah. So he's either... It might either get to him where, fuck, my dad's not here, blah, blah, blah. Or it might be like, you know, I'm going to win for my dad.
Yeah, dude,
I think that's what's going to happen.
They've got such a different mentality to what we could even understand, where it's like...
It's like, I'm going to make my dad proud. I'm going to fucking win and be 30-0.
This is
you reckon he'll retire?
Yes. Yeah, and then he'll have super fights after that. But his record, his in-fight record will stay at 30-0.
I hope so.
It's gonna be full on if fucking if what's his name? Dustin Gate. Oh, fuck, what's his name?
Justin
Gate knocks him out. I think I'd actually cry if he knocks him out, bro. I'll be like, no, good on you, but no.
We're watching that fight, yeah.
Yeah, I'll come to your place. You fucking, we'll put the thing on your big TV, mate. Invite the boys around.
It's gonna be sick.
Okay, I think I'm gonna bet for the first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet as well.
I'm gonna bet like $1,000 on Khabib and see what happens. Almost fucking taken. No, I don't know. Is there anything else on that card? Is there anything else big coming up? Because Usman and Burns for the second time just got cancelled.
Oh really?
Usman was like, I'm too tired.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Huh?
No, I didn't say that. He was like, I can't remember what he said. He's like, I still need to recover or something. I don't know, something.
Yeah,
he's still sore from Masvidal. It's like, I don't know what the fuck.
Fuck, that Masvidal fight was ages ago now, though, right?
Anyway, Burns doesn't get his fucking title fight he's been waiting for. Because remember, he got COVID. That's why Masvidal came in.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So Burns wants his title fight, and now Burns is going to have to wait a month.
Yeah.
That's how long Usman said, so that's not a fight. I'm not sure if that was going to be on that same card, but that's not going to be a thing. Anybody else coming up? I can't think of anybody else.
I think the co-main event should be a decent one too, but now I can't think of who's fighting. I can't think of the top of my head.
Because I always miss out on like the littler cards, like the Holly Holmes one they just had. Like, I didn't even know that was happening. I was like, apparently those are like the fight islands. Oh, what about
like a week after.
What about
what?
I want to get his name right. Chimaev, Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah,
the Russian guy.
Yeah.
He's like this big new shit coming in,
Yeah.
and he in his 2 fights that he's had so far, he landed something like 250 punches combined, and his opponents combined landed 2 punches. And he just dominated one. And then he had the fight against Gerard Merchat.
I haven't seen that one.
Knocks him out in 3 seconds.
Oh, really?
13 seconds, I think. But anyway, knocks him out, and he lined that fight up, and then he was like, my next fight's going to be against Damian Maia in like 2 weeks. So he was just going to fight. And, you know, the Gerard Merchat guy was like, I'm going to fuck this guy. I'm not going to let him get to the second fight. I'm not a stepping stone. He comes in, knocks him out in 13 seconds. He's like, who's next? He's calling for Israel.
Is he? Yeah, I know. I saw that. Is he from Khabib's camp?
I don't know if he's from Khabib's camp, but Khabib's talked about him and said he's the real deal.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if he's from the same camp. But he
looks like
shit, right? They look the same. They all look the fucking same.
Yeah.
They look like
scary, eh?
Got the beard, bald head, fucking they look pretty scary. But he'll be fun to see because, I mean, when I watch like DC talk about him, DC's like, we could put him in the top 5. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's had 3 fights. Put him in the top 5. Give him a title shot. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
But I mean, these guys, they're
different.
But at the same time, like these people who analyze fights and shit, like for a living. they probably can tell when they see,
Well,
oh
that's
shit,
what I
this guy
wonder.
is special. Like
That's
there's
what I wonder,
something
because
about this guy.
Because DC was really in on it that this guy is so legit.
Yeah, I know everyone's hyping
And
him up.
I'm like, whatever. We've seen people come in, they get fucking knocked out. Ben Askren, he's the shit, gets knocked out. But I wonder if he's going to be the next. I mean, no one's going to be the next Conor McGregor style shit except Israel Adesanya. He's becoming that.
But at the same time, like, does that get to him? Because I feel like with Dominic Reyes, like in this last fight, the interviews leading up to the fight on the fight island, the press conferences and shit, all the reporters were like, oh, you know, because everyone thought he was going to win because of his performance against John Jones, right? Everyone's like, oh, you know,
I think that
how
too.
are you going to feel, you
Went
know,
into his head.
when you win the title? Like, the questions that were being asked to him were, once you win the title, what's next for you? Where do you go from here? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, maybe that's not, like, don't just assume it. Like,
But
it's good to visualize
He kept
it,
saying though, he's like, I think he was in that state as well, where he was like, he knew it was maybe getting to his head, because he kept saying things like, oh, you know, I don't want to look past my opponent, Jan. But he kept then saying, yeah, but I'm going to win. Like, look what I did against John Jones. So he was kind of in the middle, because I think maybe he understood. Beg your pardon? he understood. Jesus Christ.
You understood.
Okay, that fucking got me good. But yeah, I think what you said is pretty exactly what went through his head. And that's going to make it so much harder this loss.
And you look at Jan at the interviews, I will go in there, I will smash his face, he's just another opponent. Like, he's just, I don't know, like, see, I find that approach to a fight so much scarier. Like, if I see a guy, he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, he's talking with that Polish accent. He's like, I'm gonna go in, it's just another fight for me. I'm gonna go in. Because, like, when Adesanya and Costa were constantly talking shit to each other, and one of the reporters were like, how come you guys don't have, like, why aren't you talking shit to each other? He goes, well, it doesn't matter. No bad blood. I just come here to fight. They're like, for him, like, it's just whatever. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, I watched that fight and I was with Jeremy at work. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna bet on this guy. He just looks like he's so cold. He's so chill about the whole thing, where you can tell, like, he has his mind set on his gameplay. He's just gonna go in and do what's that. Like, his mind isn't sort of distracted by these other clouds of thoughts, whereas I feel like Dominic had that going on, you know, where everyone's expecting me to win, like, literally every question that's
maybe
been asked.
Dominic felt more like a superstar, whereas like
When he
Jan,
wasn't.
the Polish guy and fucking all these Russian guys, when they fight, it's like the only thing that exists in their world. This is the only way they can do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe fucking Dominic's got a bit more fame, and
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
like,
got a bit of money coming in. He's like, yeah, this is sick. But for all the Russian guys and the Polish
They
guys,
don't
they're
give
just
a
like,
fuck, man.
dude,
They don't
all my
care.
fucking fame comes
don't
from
care.
winning. You know, not being in the fight,
Not talking shit.
not doing a mega fight. It's like, dude, I come in here and I win. Peter Yan, fuck me, dude. Peter Yan's becoming one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's pretty good, eh?
Like, and he's so scary, bro. He's got this attitude where he's like, look how fucking awesome I am, and that scares the shit out of me. And I'm like, imagine being his fucking opponent. When you're doing the stare down, he's like, bro, do you know how many backflips I can do? Do you know how many, you know, he's like, that kind of, like you were just saying, that kind of just like, I'm like, I just do what I do and I'm gonna win, and so that's it.
Isn't it crazy? Like, we're living in such a strange times, you know. We're living in a time where there's this virus fucking killing everyone, and we're still holding these competitions where we get the world's best fucking gladiators. We're like, fight, you know.
But
it's
that's
so...
always going to appeal to the majority of people, because I think that's how the majority of people
No, but this
unfortunately think, isn't it? Like,
But, like,
who
no,
is
I'm
the
not saying it
best?
as a bad thing.
No, I
this
like
is
it.
This has been going on, like, even in the ancient
Yeah, but
Roman
everyone wants
times.
to see who's the best.
Yeah, exactly,
Who's
right?
the best human being?
They would fill up stadiums and have people fight.
Yeah,
it's the same shit.
I don't know about you, but I think you're the same as me. But I don't know about most people out there. Most people I talk to don't feel this way. But for me, and I think for you, it's like the best human being out there is the most athletic, you know, best fighter, best, you know, whatever, can take care of anybody. That to me is very intelligent. Israel is becoming that person for me, where he's like, he's so good at fighting. He's very smart, you know. He's a good person as well. It seems like he knows how to talk. He's funny. He's a bit of a weeb, you know. He's a bit of a comic book nerd and shit. I like that stuff.
he
You know?
is,
I
yeah.
love that shit. He reminds me a bit of fucking Aranya.
Yeah.
Aranya and him do the same
Yeah.
shit sometimes. You know, like whatever the finger shit and like the fucking fist pumping and
All these like his moves, he fucking goes
like,
dancing.
goes fucking Super Saiyan, and I'm just like, hey, he's such a
But-
weeb.
But you are right in like when you said he's smart. You have to be smart if you're in the fighting game. Most people from the outside think it's just a bunch of meatheads punching each other, but it's so much more to that. It is literally
I
playing
think it's
chess.
gained a lot more traction these. I think everyone knows what UFC is now. Because like back in like what early 2000s, everyone was like, well, yeah, meathead sport. Now, I'm sure a lot of people still think it's very.
There's still,
meatheady,
trust
'cause
me-
a lot of people don't like fighting anyway.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Most people don't like confrontation at all.
Like I know a lot of people within my bubble, like through work or like family. You know, people I know through family and whatnot. Like they don't know what. Like yes, they know what UFC is, but they don't know what UFC is. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
They still because they never actually sit down, watch it to understand. No one actually sits in that. Hey, look. You know, these are the different styles. This, that. No, they don't know. They just
So
see.
you go, you know the UFC, and they go, yeah, the boxing match.
Yeah.
They're thinking about Floyd versus Connor. Yeah, the boxing, right? They do the boxing. They put the gloves on, and you're like, I can't. No, not really. Like it's become so much more mainstream to that point now.
But
think.
yes, I do agree with that.
Or you just mean
but
everyone
people
knows the
know
name.
it. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows what it's about. But
But
not
don't
many
know.
people actually sit down and actually, you know, people that do watch it, like my mum, for example.
She watches it?
Yeah, dude, I got
you
my
fucking
mum hooked
kidding?
onto when I started watching The Ultimate Fighter.
Are you serious?
Dude, my mum loves UFC.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's
you know.
awesome.
Yeah, my sister, like, because we would just watch it together and we'd just show clips, and like, once you understand it, it's hard to not be into it.
Dude,
you know
my
what I mean?
family's so fucking not like that. If I try to get my mum or even like my aunties to watch it, they're just like, ugh, what is going on? Oh, and they hate it more when the women are fighting. They're like, oh no. I'm like, what the fuck's
Yeah.
the problem here? But
Like,
it's just some people just don't like
My
it.
uncle, no, you can't. No, he'll see like, all right, fight, let's go. He'll be like, no, turn it off. No, I can't see it. No, it's this is like animal sport. It's it's blah blah blah. But like, yeah, like so some people
They're
are
not
like
being
that.
forced to fucking fight.
But like some people are like that. They can't watch it. And they just.
Well, that's
but
because they don't understand.
They don't understand it. So.
But that's like any sport anyone doesn't like. Like, I fucking hate cricket. I've played cricket, but I don't understand cricket. And I just find it the most boring shit. But I'm sure if you get into it and you start learning about like how things work and what's really good play, you get into it like anything. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
can understand. UFC is a lot more fucking complex than fucking cricket. So I can understand why people. But who cares? It's not like we're trying to start a fucking UFC army here. But
Yeah, I know. But like I think a lot of people like, you know, if you don't know boxing, you think boxing is just, you know, putting on some gloves
boxing's
and punching.
really old though, so everyone knows what boxing is.
Yeah, I know. But like for someone who knows what boxing is but don't really watch it, it's just two people punching each other, right? In UFC, there's more to that. There's submission game, there's ground game, there's so many more other elements to it. I think that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it.
Well, that's what makes it exciting for me, and I think for you as well. It's like in the UFC, you have to be good at everything. You know what I mean? It's like the ultimate conjunction of the martial arts to show who the best at everything is. You know, oh, you're a good boxer, but your jiu-jitsu is not that good. You have to be good at it all. You know, you put a bit of Muay Thai with your boxing, and that all goes together, and then your jiu-jitsu with your wrestling, and you probably find like common points between those two that you can make up new fucking techniques. It's a cross between, you know, a fucking like my hammerlock pass to like a Habib lock up the legs, put him against the fence shit. It's like I bet all that stuff works together. You know what I mean? So that's why I like the UFC, watching it and going.
For sure.
Even just MMA in total. So Bellator and ONE FC I love. I love watching ONE FC because that is so focused on just fighting. There's no star going, yeah, fuck you,
No.
motherfucker.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
it's like,
it's just- no,
there's
get
none of
to
that.
the
It's
point,
just
it's just
we're fighting. And those guys, in my opinion, could compete with the UFC. Like a lot of
Oh,
those
yeah, for
fighters.
sure, for
Some of
sure.
those Asian fighters.
There's a lot of
are
crossovers.
crazy,
There's a lot of crossover. I mean, even back in the day with Pride and everything, most
Well,
of the
didn't Ben
fighters.
Askren come from? Yeah, Ben Askren came from ONE FC, and we gave them Mighty Mouse. And Mighty Mouse goes in there and has the fight of his life against the first guy he finds, puts on a better fight against him than anyone ever has. Mighty Mouse
I
still
don't know that
wins.
fight. I haven't
Oh,
seen
dude, you
that
gotta
fight.
watch it. It's
I
the
haven't
most
seen that
brutal
fight.
fight. Like, there's just this Asian fighter you never heard of, and he comes in there and puts Mighty Mouse to the test.
Oh, really?
And Mighty Mouse still wins, and now Mighty Mouse is the champion. But it's like, from that point, and then watching certain stars, they have like Unlung Sung. You got to start watching ONE FC. It's just like they could compete with a lot of the UFC, but I still think UFC's got the highest talent because they've got more.
Well, they're the
and then-
biggest. And that's where everyone.
that's where
wants to
everyone
be.
goes. So that's where the highest level of talent is going to want to go.
Yeah, everyone's
So-
eyes are on them.
So that's why I think it's going to be a bit bigger
100%.
and harder. But
But man, like a good fight can turn a non-believer into a believer as well. Like the last pay-per-view, right?
yeah.
What happened?
I was gonna say, what's a good fight though? Because you could be like, "Oh, look at all the blood, holy shit!" and someone's like, "Oh my god," and then
Yeah, well,
that's a
like
good
for
fight.
example, the last pay-per-view, when I was watching it at work when I shouldn't have, I put up a photo of it and put it on my Instagram story, right? And one of my friends who's never watched UFC hit me up that day. He's like, "Where can I watch it? I want to watch it for the first time," right? So he ended up watching the last two fights. He watched the Costa
co-main,
fight
yeah.
and you know the other fight, the Dominic fight, and. I saw him the other day. He came over to my place on Sunday, and he's talking about all these fighters now. He goes, I heard about Romero. He goes, like now he's looking it all up. He's like all excited, and I told him about the next fight, like the next main event,
and he's
like,
probably looking at them.
he's
now.
like, he's
That's
all
awesome.
hyped up, and then when he came over to my place on Sunday, I actually put up one of the girls' fights. I put who did I put? Rose, Nama, Yunez, and fuck, who did she
Rose
fight?
Namajunas
Yeah,
versus Joanna
Namajunas.
Jędrzejczyk.
Yes.
Or- yeah.
Yeah, I put that fight up, and then I
That's a
put
banger, yeah.
and he was like he's like, and the girls, he goes, look how crazy they are. And then I put Ronda Rousey and Misha Tate, their second fight. That fight was so good where Misha Tate, like, she gave it all her, like, everything she had, you know, she tried escaping
Well, those
submissions
are
and
the
shit,
best
and-
fights to show someone who's never watched UFC
Yeah.
before. Is when someone just like you can't avoid the fact that that person has just given like a fucking warrior's effort, and you're just in awe of like how tough they are. You're like, holy, how the fuck, you know? Those are the best fights in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like when you're cheering for the other guy, but then halfway through the fight, you're cheering for the dude you don't
You're
like
like,
because he's putting in such an
Yeah.
effort, and you're just like, I love this guy.
And you're
man.
like, you know what? Fuck, what a fight. Like, just you guys do your thing. I just want to watch this.
And you always
enjoy
love
it,
those
yeah.
moments when it's in the fourth round and the crowd's just cheering.
Everyone's
Like,
standing up.
Everyone's just clapping.
And you just see them like the ref is like about to start the last round or something. He's like, "Are you ready?" And they're just looking at each other like, "All right, cool. Let's just fucking."
Dude, the
Go
Gastelum
at it.
Adesanya, when they're both just looking at each other, it's the fifth round, and they're both just like, I'm ready to die.
Yeah.
And everyone's clapping. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is fucking sick. Kill each other. This is awesome." And then they go in, and it's the greatest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So
I was watching a Tony Ferguson fight yesterday, and like, I forgot which fight it was. Now it was pretty late. I was just watching random fights, and leading up to the last round, he just looks at him. He's like, "My belt, not yours. My belt."
Kevin Lee, I think.
Was that?
Yeah.
And like
That was a crazy fight. Dude.
That was just like, holy shit! Like he's just looking at him, like the round, like, the last round. And these guys are going to war, and he's just like, "My belt, like not yours, my belt." He's like, "Fuck you," and like that, that just seeing that pumped me up so much.
Well, that's why I like watching the UFC as well. Is I'm really into. I've got a very competitive nature, and I like seeing the ultimate competitors what they do. You know, like how do they deal with stuff and deal with losing. When you're so competitive and you lose, it's like, what do you do? Most of them are very gracious, but then like
They get humbled.
yeah, even when speaking of Tony Ferguson, when Justin Gaethje beat him, Tony Ferguson. Justin comes over and like gives him a hug, and Tony goes, "Fuck you." You see that bit? And he's like, "Hey man, being an asshole ain't gonna get you anywhere," and he walks away. And then later, Tony's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, like all good." But
But
like,
in the
you
moment-
can see that energy of like, "Fuck man," like
He was
you
probably
wanna
that
win.
fuck you was more to himself than to
Exactly.
Justin.
His competitive nature,
Yeah.
in on himself, going,
Yeah.
"Fuck this," and it's interesting for me to watch. I mean, I love watching the top athletes, see what they do and how
Yeah,
they-
me too.
It's crazy.
That's why I like watching the like UFC YouTube channel is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I
All the
love it.
embedded videos they do, like behind the scenes. I love seeing all of that shit.
Well,
It's
did
just-
you enjoy the ones I sent you, the war rooms? Did you really get in on those?
Which one? What?
I sent you the War Rooms with Dan Hardy.
Yeah. Dan Hardy videos.
Do you like
yeah,
those? How
fuck
he
yeah.
really breaks down like
Fuck
every
yeah.
little thing those fighters
Fuck
do.
yeah, like that Habib, that I never realized, you know, the way he changes fucking levels and then
Does that eagle
oh,
punch.
damn.
That's what I mean. Like, that's why I love watching it. Because, it is a science. People are just like, oh, they're just meatheads. It's like, bro, there is a counter for every counter. It's the same as jiu-jitsu. Okay, I do this. I do the level change. The dude's going to drop down, so I throw that crazy Khabib eagle punch. You know what I mean?
Like what Kai said last week. Someone said, what if they do this? We were learning a technique. Someone's like, well, what if they do their leg like this instead of like that? And Kai said, well, they're always going to do something. They're always going to do something different. He goes, we just teach you. We give you the tools. So then depending on what they do.
Yeah, and then he goes, you're going to have to figure it out. He
Yeah,
said that.
well,
I was like, true.
But it is true.
Yeah,
right?
because it's not like you can
can't have
plan
an
out
answer.
every event.
Yeah.
You just can be given the best tools to deal with that, and that's what fighting is. It's like, here's this problem in front of you. What does Joe Rogan say? He says UFC, well, cage fighting is like human chess with dire physical consequences.
Yeah.
It is. You got this
It is,
problem in
yeah.
front of you you're trying to figure out, and if you don't, something bad's going to happen to you. So the stakes are high.
So there's
you have a
fear,
very
there's-
big
yeah.
incentive to figure this out quick. Figure this puzzle out. Imagine if, like, you're playing a video game, you come to a puzzle section. Oh, here we go. Imagine,
Or a boss fight.
Imagine the puzzle section turns up and the fucking walls have spikes and
Yeah.
they start closing. You've got 5 minutes to figure it out.
Yeah.
You have to figure
It's like
it
a
out.
fucking
man.
Dark Souls boss fight.
That's
where
what I mean.
You're either going to get your ass kicked or you got to fucking figure it out.
Dude. Well,
to-
that's. I know people are gonna laugh at this, but that's the equivalent of, like, in a video game when you versed a boss 100 times and he's killed you 100 times, but you go back for the 101th time.
And it just all of a sudden
and
you
you're
just
figuring
kick
it
his
out
ass.
every time.
You're like,
You
what?
suddenly just, okay, he does this many moves this many times or whatever. That's fighting, man. That's fighting. Oh, that motherfucker keeps throwing that jab out. Okay, I'm gonna duck the jab like Israel does. I'm gonna bait his jab out, duck it to the right hand, left hand.
But you can
It's
apply
setting
that
traps.
analogy to everything in life.
Everything.
Because you can either walk away from it, this thing kicked my ass.
Well, you see people quit. You see people
You know,
quit.
because that's the same thing in life as well, right? People try and they fail and they never try again. But a kid learning how to ride a bike, if he falls off, he's going to get back on the bike again until he learns how to ride a bike.
Imagine being knocked out and then coming back for your next fight. That's a big deal.
Imagine, and you got to understand, it's not just knocked out, you know, where no one sees it. Everyone you know, all your family, all your friends are going to be watching
you
that fight.
get basically
Like,
embarrassed.
if you were to walk in a cage right now, right, and it's going to be televised all around the world, everyone you know is going to watch that fight. So you've got all of that pressure. You don't want to let anyone down. You don't want to let yourself down, and you want to prove to people you're going to be able to.
1 second, everybody. There's a package in the door. How you doing, mate? Yeah, that's right.
You-
Live podcasting, baby. I'm pretty sure
What'd
this
you
is
get?
my gi. My rash guard.
Oh, really?
Let's have a look.
Fuck yeah.
What did you call
Talking
this?
about
what do you call it?
unboxing?
Live unboxing.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, guys, I got myself here. Can I show branding on this? Are we allowed to show branding stuff? Jesus, they've packed this tight. Oh, I wonder how bad that's gonna sound. All right, guys, we're gonna do a bit of ASMR here today.
Burp onto the microphone.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's funny. We're talking all this MMA, and then we got
Yeah.
how much COVID do you think this has got on it? Oh mate, oh,
Mate.
it feels so good. Anyway, yeah.
Is this from Venom?
Yeah, this is the same as my one, except one size
Different.
bigger.
Oh.
Just for the next one.
Yeah.
Because I liked it, and I thought I'll just get another one. I'm sure I'm gonna grow a bit, so I just got one size bigger. I know for you that ain't shit. That's a small. You probably like, how the fuck do I fit in this? And then what? I got a letter here.
Damn, this looks good.
Yeah, it's just the same one I've got.
This
Look at
looks
that.
good.
Look at that.
Hey, do you mind later on? Do you mind if I try this size?
The small?
Yeah. Because I want to get one, but I don't know if small is.
Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see that on the
Venom.
Look at that. Look at that snake. Come on. Look at that snake. Yes.
Sick shit.
This is my jiu-jitsu.
This turned out to be like a
full
full-on
MMA, just complete
fucking-
MMA thing.
How long are we in?
An hour and 5 minutes.
There we go.
So we've done a
Fucking hell.
complete
Yeah.
USC breakdown, episode 1.
And like before the podcast started, we're watching like videos about
Space and
time
shit.
travel, space. We're like, yeah, we'll start with UFC the next minute. Well, this was fun.
Apparently
though.
we had a lot to talk
Yeah,
about,
we
a lot
did.
to go over. Because we missed out last week when we had
Yeah.
a bit to talk about. So
Mm.
whatever, this episode's that. I'm sure next episode will be something else we built up this week to move on.
Yeah,
It seems like how it goes this time. One thing I might address with our little, I know probably no one's even fucking knows what we're talking about. The little info sections we do, we might not be doing that every episode.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't do it this episode.
Mm.
We kind of did it last episode,
Mm.
but we'll do it
When we
fe-
feel
when we
like
feel.
it's sort of
Because forcing it does feel like shit sometimes.
yeah, it is.
It just feels like, oh, then it's just an unnatural moment in the podcast that we're trying to force.
I agree.
This episode, this just happened. This is the way it goes. I hope there's some UFC fans out there because we're big UFC fans. We
Yeah.
like combat sport.
Well, I know the one person who watches this is probably not going to be interested. But oh well.
Well, I know most of the people I know listen on my side. Yeah, don't have a clue about UFC.
Yeah.
Mostly women who hate fighting.
Yeah.
So.
So. Isn't that weird?
It is.
Oh.
No, we're gonna get the boys
No,
involved, man. We're gonna get the whatever. Women can like this as well, but most of the women I've come in contact with don't enjoy cage fighting. Honey, we'll try and end the episode with a look at Honey. Come here,
Yeah, we'll say goodbye from home.
because I think we're gonna end it now.
Off you get. Yay!
I like to sit her up like this.
Hey!
Yay. She loves it when Khan comes over. Yay. Khan loves that. People on audio are like, what's happening? Yeah, for you guys on audio, Honey's hopped up on the couch and just being super adorable. Hop over to the YouTube if you want to get a quick glimpse at, what are we at? An hour and 7 minutes. This is when you can see Honey. So
That's
just skip
it.
to the end. Anyway, guys.
All right, that was fun.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that
Thanks
episode.
for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah, see you later.
Cheers.